Hello everyone and welcome to another New World video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new to the channel, but if you're a part of this incredible community, thank you so much for coming in and checking out today's video. I wanted to sit down, I wanted some time to process the latest dev update for November. Clearly a lot of delays, a lot of misses, not necessarily thrilled about that, but this isn't an all negative video as people like to say in the comments. I'm your friendly New World propagandist. I really do believe in this game and what it's trying to do, and I'm very excited for its future. But clearly, the delays in and of themselves are not, great. It's a bummer, even though I know that we're going to be getting a better product in the end. So for me, it's just an opportunity for, all right, just you let me know when you're ready. Now, what was delayed? I think is one of the biggest things. Now, they talked about the MSQ, they talked about a couple other misses. That doesn't necessarily bother me, because the thing that bothers me is the thing that I think continues to hold New World back, and it's the lack of cross-server, expeditions, cross-server arena. I think those two pieces of content are going to be elevated, and based off what they shared, they're going to be really elevated, especially with matchmaking and the different systems that they've been covering. They've been giving us hints about what's coming, but they really went into great detail about matchmaking. Now, for those of you who don't know my thoughts on matchmaking, I'm going to just take a moment to talk a little bit about it, because I'm not really pro matchmaking, and the key word here being and the lack of hard content. And so they're addressing it with buffs. I think that's an interesting thing, but if you guys don't know, matchmaking has a cost, and that cost ends up being you either get a lot of toxicity or you get content that gets watered down to the point where it doesn't necessarily feel fun after the 10th run or the 100th run. This isn't to say that that's the system that they're putting in is going to mean that the expeditions aren't fun and enjoyable, because matchmaking brings in so much value to a lot of players who maybe only have a little bit of time and they want to spend that time in New World, as opposed to wanting to spend that time and going to another game, right? These MMOs aren't in these silos anymore. They aren't the only be all end all way that you can have a social experience online. Social media in a way is somewhat competing with the old school style MMO of the past, giving you this kind of virtual meta world to exist in. And so sometimes a lot of people is that ability to ease into and play. And we've already seen that with the easing of the difficulty with the story mode for the expeditions, and adding in matchmaking is just the natural evolution. It's going to benefit the game. But I do always look at it in terms of cost of do we lose freedom of choice in terms of how we set up our builds? It doesn't seem like that, and I'm going to be very curious to see how it feels in the long run. I know I'll end up using it a lot because I, like most of you guys, we have families, lives, and it just sometimes is easier when you have a little bit and you want to spend time with the game and you want to do a piece of content, but you don't want to have to go through the pain of organizing it. That's not to say that the higher difficulties are going to, not be match made. It's interesting that they're adding it to that. And then obviously with the buffs for the pugs is interesting. I think that's going to be, I'm really excited to see how that plays out in the long run. If that does help people get clears and makes it less frustrating, I do think we'll see Reddit threads or a whole Reddit subreddit on tales from the New World Party Finder, as you might get, who knows, you might get an incredible player, you might get a just the worst player. That's what you get when you hit, just match me with whoever, those kind of dice. But what's going to be, I think, a really good move is that there's not going to be a leaderboards for matchmaking, because that if there was a leaderboard and you're striving for it and you get a group that's just not interested in worrying about that leaderboard, that's unnecessary friction. So I'm glad that that's staying in the mindset of a pre-made, and maybe this will end up helping people find people they like to play with much easier. And then they shift into let's all get a preform, party going on and rocking and rolling. But that being said, I would start to speculate that we'll see that sometime in January, namely because the update happens in December. They didn't say it was delayed to season 5, which will be the next logical season. And before we hear about season 5, we should end up getting the 2024 roadmap as to the features that they want, namely what I'm looking for, controller support as a quality of life. But what I really want is player aptitude levels, and I'm going to keep advocating for that. the leveling experience from 60 to 65 feels so good, and once that experience just goes away, I want it back. I really want it back, and I think if they added a player aptitude level just like they have with the crafting and gathering, I'd also say extend it to the weapon system as well. Let me just farm up that experience because I have an addiction, and the only cure is more XP. That all being said, that's one of the big things that I always wanted to talk about. Obviously, we'll have to see how it goes into 2024. I'm a big believer in this game. I think it's going to be a really interesting year, namely when we start to talk about consoles, controllers, the future, and how it works. I do think one thing that will continually be kind of a thorn in the side of its mainstream success is how transfers work, and they're starting to make progress on that, but we didn't get much out of it overall. Like, I mean, the honest take is that this was not the best dev update. It's not what I was hoping for. I wish they would have taken some time to start talking more about the future, despite the fact that they missed, and misses happen, and I think they were honest with us, and I appreciate that level of discussion that they brought to the table, and what they did talk about sounds exciting and interesting, and I love how they're thinking through these problems. But I think one of the things that, especially as we go into season 4 and as some of these things kind of get missed, so basically they're still teased out, just like we saw with the transmog, they're teased out a bit, but what happens after that? I think that's the conversation where they don't have to paint it like chisel it in stone, but start talking about maybe some of their 2024 goals. That would have been a really good time to start that, and maybe let us know when to expect that next roadmap, which gives more that chiseled in commitment. And I think overall, like, they hit a lot of what they said they were going to do. They did. They missed a few things. Some things get rolled out throughout the patch cycle. And yeah, I'm excited to see where the game goes from here. And who knows? We'll be sure to keep you guys up to date on the news and more. I was sick all last week. It was a whole thing. Anyway, guys, at the top link in the description, check out the Instagram. Thank you for the over 200 followers over there. That's been helping me out in terms of networking. And if you guys want to go and use Instagram, if you hit that the link in the description, that will help out what I'm doing as a stand-up comedian. And yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for your support. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.